Alrighty, so now we are going, whoops, to cut. Now I'm going to cut the bottom because remember we had to cut a little bit off of the bottom. So I just lined it up. And I think I need a new blade. This should cut a lot easier. I think it was the cardboard I did the other day. I think I have another blade. I should have another blade. Well, we'll see. So let's open this up so it'll cut. Those are only 4 pages and I didn't want to cut. That's pretty sad. Okay. Alright, so you could choose both ways of doing this, which was when we cut this off and then we stuck it back together again with the tape, or you can cut the sides of the pages depending on how they fall in the books that you're doing. Alrighty, so now we're going to come to a crucial point in that now you get to make a decision. First of all, this is a mess here. Let me straighten up some. I don't know about you, but my stuff has ended up all over the place. So, okay. Save your scraps till we're all done. All right. So now we're going to have to decide what kind of binding you're going to choose to do. Now, I'm going to show you how to do the traditional binding, which is the pamphlet stitch, and putting it in the book. But if you are real new and that kind of scares you, we do have an alternative. And I want to show the alternative before we go on to the next stages. One of the alternatives is basically to put some kind of a band to hold your signature in, as opposed to sewing it in. There are advantages and disadvantages of this. If you are doing an art journal, I see the advantage. You can pull out the paper, you can work with your wet mediums, your glues, whatever it is you're going to do. Once it's dry, you can slip it back in, and you are not going to mess up any of your pages. You're not have to worry about bleed through into the other stuff, and so it's pretty cool that way. The disadvantage is that sometimes, depending on what you use, if you use something thick like this, not so much, but if you use thinner stuff on here, it's going to eventually start to tear here. So you would have to put, put like a little reinforcement there of something, whether it is masking tape, or if it's thicker paper, or if you have Tyvek, whatever you want to do to kind of reinforce it. So that's something I would think about, because I put a thin one here to show you that if it's thin, you know, eventually this is going to have stress point on there and it's going to tear. But there are advantages to it, and I would make sure it was something thicker like this. These you can get, I think it's like 10 of them or something for $1 at the Dollar Tree, and these are pretty good to use. Another alternative is to tie it with some fabric, and then you just tie it in the back. So you can see how each of these look in your spine. If you were to put this, if you were to put some kind of fabric, or the thinner one, whatever you choose to do. Now, another alternative is, if all of that still intimidates you, you could put it on a ring. This right now I have it punched, and I had it here with what is this? I forgot what I used. But anyway, you could put binder rings for your whole journal. If you decided to do the binder rings, then at this stage what you would do is whatever signature you have, you would cut it down the middle and make your holes for your ring binder. So that's why I say this is a critical time if you decide what you want to do. And if you're not sure, then just wait till the end of the video and then say, hey, I think I can do that. But I wanted to give you your options now so that if you start working along with me and then at the end I give you the options, you go, oh, I wish you had told me that before. So those are your options. Now, this same book I used for another journal that I made, and because it was going to be a thicker journal, I was going to put more signatures, and the signatures were going to have more pages. What I did is I cut the spine, and then I added a larger spine so I could expand the thickness of the book. We're not going to do that today because we're learning right now the basics. But just to show you, this is the same exact volume, because these are encyclopedias. These are the exact same size that I used for this one that I did, that I will show you, just to give you an example of how things can look a little more different. Let's cover up all this mess a little bit. I made this. Now this is the exact same book with the spine removed, and I added a larger one to it. This is just tissue paper that I put on it, and then I put a coat of shellac, amber shellac. I love, love, love my amber shellac. Hold on one second, let me get it. Here it is. You can get this at any hardware store. You can get it at Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace, whatever is in your neighborhood. And where I live, it costs about $11 and change, so say $12. But this will last you forever because it's a quart, and I mean a long, long time. Especially if you only use it in this type of craft. I use it on furniture projects that I have and wood projects that I have, and it still lasts me a long time. And what I like about this is it gives it that little antiqued orange sheen to it. If you want it to stay natural and not change the color at all, they also have the clear shellac. And what I like about working with shellac, as opposed to like polyurethane and things like that, this dries within a matter of not even 5 minutes. It's dry, especially if you're not in a humid area. But even if it's humid, it's going to dry if you put a thin coat. And then you can come back as soon as it's dry. You can put another coat if you want. So I highly recommend, if you like this finish, this is the cheapest route to go as opposed to getting varnishes. I know they sell varnishes at the, at all the art and crafts places, but you get a little small thing for almost the same amount of money, and you're getting a quart, and you can get the clear or the amber. All right, having said that, I put tissue paper on here and put a coat of the amber varnish on here, and then in the front I put a piece of this was a file folder that I cut, and then I put a picture in the front, and then used some of the scraps similar to the ones that I've included in the kit. And that's pretty much how I did this one. Now this one's, even for me, this little frou-frou, I don't even go this frou-frou, But it was supposed to be replicate like an album, a family album that has been passed down through the years. And so it had to have more of a little vintage look to it. And it was supposed to show weddings that had happened within this family. And so I gave them names and pictures of their weddings and so on and so forth. Well, anyway, so that is the exact same book that we have, and that's what we're going to be working with. So be thinking about how you want to bind yours. If you're going to go the route where you want to just do the holes and keep it real simple, or you can do it this way, which is, I think, just as simple, probably more simple than having to, you know, punch the holes and everything. But you decide and be thinking about it and see how this ends up looking. All right, so we have these done. So now that we're thinking about, well, let's add some of these that I just got through. Let's put that in there. Oops, there's only one in there, so that must go into my other one. Okay, Rosemary, helps if you untie things. Okay. You just stick it in anywhere. Oops. Now what I would suggest you do for the cover, because this is how I do it. I get these to this stage where I've got pretty much what I want in the signatures, and then at this point I work on my cover, then I attach whatever way I'm decided to attach. Then I attach these to it, and then from there I decide how I want to embellish it and so on and so forth. So that is the way I do it. If you like embellishing when it's all loose, then when we start doing the embellishing, you can follow along and do it before you actually sew it in. This is just the way I do it. It's not the only way to do it. It's just the way that I feel comfortable in doing it. So we need to decide how you want to do your cover. Now there's various things we can do. We can just paint it and leave it like that. We can paint it and decoupage things on it. We can collage on it. We can, as I did with this one, put paper, tissue paper on it. You can do it with napkins. You can do it any number of ways. So I've got to figure out what I want to do. And I think what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do. I'm thinking about this as I'm talking to you. I'm going to try and see if I have enough of some kind of tissue paper so that I can include it in all the kits. And then I'll put it on there, and that way you will all be doing the same thing if that's your choice. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go check my tissue papers right now, see what I have the most of what. And then I will come back and we will do the cover with that tissue paper, and you will see that in your kit it's sitting right there waiting for you. Alright, I'll be right back. So, I found this tissue paper that I have that is all a bunch of frames, and I think it's kind of cute, kind of vintagey looking, and I have enough to put it in all the kits. So let's go ahead and plan on using this. Now, the fact that we're using tissue paper and that it's thin, if we were to leave the cover as is and glue this on there, then everything is going to show through, whatever colors and printing and writing is on here. So I would suggest, because we are dealing with a light color in the background, that we go ahead and we paint our covers with either white paint, or if you have gesso, you can use that too. And let's just paint these down so that when we put these papers on here, we're not going to have all this messiness. And it doesn't matter, you can do a sloppy job. This is not going to be seen at all. When it comes to the writing, you might have to do a second coat. We'll see as we go along here. But see, that's why I wanted to make sure that all of you had this exact same cover. Because I had other books and I thought, well, I'll put different ones. But then the issues we come up with would be different. And then again, we'd be at the same point as you were before. But what do I do with mine? So you'll know exactly what to do, because we're all dealing with the same issues. I hear my dog at the door. Well, it's either the dog or my husband. Oh, I think it's my husband. See, I'm in the studio right now, and I come in through the back door because it's adjacent to my home. And when I step out my back door, you step immediately into 3 steps. There's no porch, no landing, no nothing. You open the door, boom, there's 3 steps. And it's very awkward, especially if I'm carrying junk in and out, or if I'm leaving when it's dark and, you know, I get blind as a bat. So we are removing those steps, and we're putting a small landing that is, it's 5 feet across when you walk out, and it's 8 feet long. And then you'll have, because the property outside there is at a little bit of an angle, so by the time you get out to that 8 foot length, you only have to step down once, which is better than these clunky 3 steps fall out of the door thing. So I think that's what my husband's doing out there right now. If you start hearing banging, he's demolishing. Alrighty, so I think, well, at least with my paint, I might have to only maybe put a second coat about right here. I don't know how you're seeing that, you know, in the video, but from my angle here, I can still kind of see it. And then, once this is dry, I'll flip it over and paint anything that is still the color of the front, you know, because when we cover this up, we won't go, you know, 100% to the edge. We'll go back a little bit, just like this is. So once the front is dry and you've got it Cover it up as much as you think is necessary. And let it dry. And then flip it over and paint the back up to the paper. And then we'll do the next stage.